Thank you, Marcus. I just want to go ahead and welcome everybody to this webinar today. Great having you here. It seems like there are about 20 or so of you participating this afternoon. And like Marcus said, my name is Arwe, and my full name is actually Arwe Boker, and I am a Promise Fellow here at the National Youth Leadership Council. And I'm actually a Professional Development Promise Fellow, which means that I specifically work with our Youth Advisory Council in helping them prepare to make presentations at our National Service Learning Conference, and I also support other Promise Fellows within Minnesota connected through the Minnesota Alliance with Youth. And Marcus Penny, he serves as the GSN Communications Associate, so he can tell you a little bit about his role here at NYLC.
I have a kind of split duties. I do a lot of communication stuff just on behalf of the organization at large, but I do probably most of my days spent working on the GSN, the Generator School Network site. Hopefully you're all familiar with, but if you're not, we'll try to send you the link before the end of today's webinar. And I just help support online professional learning opportunities like the webinar we're at today.
Thank you. So our first task for today is actually to figure out where you guys are from. So using some of the tools that Marcus had mentioned earlier, just locate on the map exactly where you're calling in from just to get a sense of how broad we are represented today. So we have a few in Minnesota, one in Washington, a lot of people from Minnesota. Great. Got a New Yorker on here. Someone from Louisiana. All right. Thank you, everyone. And just feel free to participate in the chat box as well. This webinar is really an opportunity for you to connect with each other. So there is an option for you to send a message to all participants as well as to an individual participant. So definitely take advantage of the opportunity. If you see somebody that's local to your area, or perhaps you're looking to connect with somebody in Minnesota or in New York or in Washington, definitely take advantage of this opportunity to do so. So moving forward, just to give you a rundown of the agenda for today's topic, which is using service learning to help encourage you to make positive decisions. We're going to go through the goals for the webinar today, and then we're going to go into identifying risk and protective factors, and finally we're going to conclude with strategies and tools that would really help you encourage your youth to make healthy decisions while doing service learning projects. So the goals for today's webinar is to really just provide examples of tools that can help identify and redirect negative and destructive behavior. There are a lot of pressing issues that youth are facing today, and we really just want to make sure that educators as well as youth who are working with other peers are able to give the support that is needed to the group that they're serving. And then secondly, we're going to conclude with a lot of examples of how people have done this in the past. So we'll share some examples, some service learning project examples, and share the tools that they've used to address those issues and to redirect negative behavior. So the CDC defines a risk factor as an individual or environmental characteristic or behavior that increases the likelihood of a negative outcome. So just thinking about what some issues or factors that youth in general face today. Your next task is actually, I'm going to rely on you to be experts as well. I'm just really here just to facilitate a conversation. So my next question for you is, what are some examples of risk factors that affect youth today? And you can use your chat box to answer, or you can write directly on the screen, whichever you prefer. So we have a few responses coming in. We have bullying, the environment, housing challenges, affordability, depression. Yep, we have some support issues, family life instability, cultural support. Yep, these are all issues that are affecting youth, and it's great to hear from youth as well as the adults within the room. Great. Eating disorders as well. Excellent. Keep them coming. Have young parents. Yeah. So some of the examples of risk factors that were generated from the SMART, which is the Youth Solutions to the Achievement Gap, specifically from the National Youth Leadership Youth Advisory Council, some of the examples that they were able to identify was a lack of parent involvement, low socioeconomic status, stereotyping, poor academic attitudes, negative environmental factors as well. So those are definitely in line with some of the responses that we received from the room today. So it's great to know that educators as well as you are on the same page. And then on the flip side, let's talk about some of the protective factors. So the individual or environmental characteristics that really increase an individual's ability to avoid risk or hazards. You know, what are the things that are support systems that help youth to create good decisions? You know, what are some things that adults can do in order to help youth make healthy decisions? So listening is a response that I got from Mary. And again, feel free to use the text box as well. What are some examples of protective factors that affect youth behavior? Resource guidance, being supportive and there for youth, giving them power is what we have from Lana. Salute at empowering them, being reliable, great. Having courageous conversations, being active in their academics. And these are all great examples. Yeah, and if you ever feel like you want to reiterate anything and explain, please, by all means, take advantage of the chat box and do so. So some of the examples of protective factors reported from the same SMART curriculum is the personal characteristics, you know, so thinking about a youth's positive outlook at life, you know, thinking about their school connectedness. How involved are they with their teachers? How involved are they within school activities? You know, do they have a connection with their peers within the school as well? And then encouraging academic attitudes. Do they have adults who encourage them to do well? You know, is there something that they're striving for academically? And then Tony had mentioned parent involvement. You know, so having that support system at home as well is a great protective factor in encouraging healthy decisions. So here at NYLC, we definitely view service learning as a way to promote healthy decisions by youth. You know, we use it as a teaching and learning in which students use academic knowledge and skills to address community needs. And the way that we do this is specifically relying on this youth voice piece. You know, really having youth take ownership of the work that they're doing by helping them identify issues and create the solutions to the problems themselves. You know, the emphasis is really on that peer-to-peer connection. It's one thing for adults to recognize a problem and come up with a solution, and it's another thing for youth to recognize that same problem and redesign the solutions that are specifically beneficial to youth. There are countless examples of service learning approaches which have been proven successful. And I apologize for this slide being a little text heavy, but really just take your time and browse through it, and we'll go through it together as well. You know, there's a driver safety campaign. The peer-to-peer campaigns use a service learning approach in which it showed that students were successful in increasing seatbelt use among their teens. Successful tobacco campaigns actually included youth voice within their strategies and their planning and implementation. A large body of evidence, you know, shows that peer education reduces the prevalence of HIV and teen pregnancy. So it's been proven that youth really through service learning, youth are addressing these issues. They're reaching out to youth because they themselves are youth. So it's really just thinking about how can we engage youth more in the decision-making process? How can we engage youth more in strategizing and coming up ways to address these issues rather than having it be adults mainly telling youth what to do? So now we're going to discuss some strategies and tools and ways adults can really include youth within the service learning experience and really encourage that idea of having youth make healthy decisions by giving them the background and information that they need about issues and really just encouraging them to interact with their peers and spread awareness about some of our troubling issues within society. So next we're actually going to show you a video which highlights a group of youth who actually, and adults who do this task very well. It's from the Central Touring Theater in St. Paul, Minnesota. Okay. So just want to give you time to respond to what are some of your thoughts about that video? What are some of your thoughts about the importance of having a safe space? I'll give you a few more seconds to respond in the chat box. I know there are possibly some longer messages, so may not be one-word responses. Okay. So talking about highlighting the importance of youth leadership. If you want youth to make healthy decisions, really rely on the youth to encourage each other to do so. We have one comment that it's inspiring and is a powerful message. We really do value youth voice here at NYLC, and so it's important that others who are doing service learning projects and others who are interacting with youth see that same value in having youth participation. Yeah. And so just some more comments about it being peer-to-peer and having the discussions without beginning the discussion with people feeling comfortable. So the next part of the presentation, we're actually going to start thinking about ways that people can create safe spaces within their schools, within their communities, wherever they're completing their service learning projects. All right. So which of the following can be used to create a safe space? A, setting group norms. B, consensus building. C, openness. D, all of the above. Yeah, so this was a pretty straightforward question. Yeah, so the answer is D, all of the above. And each of these tools are pretty important in creating a safe space because it allows for the youth to feel involved in setting the dynamics of what's going to happen within that space. So setting group norms. This could be a simple 5 to 10-minute activity where you gather your group and have everybody sit down and discuss, what is acceptable within your space? What is acceptable within your classroom? What type of language are you going to use? What type of behavior are you going to expect from all the participants? So I guess now my question is to you, what are some group norms that you feel would be useful in setting together as a group completing a service learning project? Rules of engagement. Mary, could you elaborate a bit on rules of engagement? One group norm, no name calling. Yep, so being respectful of differences, using appropriate language. Absolutely. Having the youth really create these norms sets the stage for what's going to happen in the future. Speak your truth, acknowledging that everybody comes into the room with different experiences. Everybody comes in with a different perspective. So speak on your own behalf. Your truth is only your truth. Okay, and so in terms of the rules of engagement, Mary reiterated being respectful of each other's time and being respectful of each other's differences as well. So interacting with each other in a way that is healthy, interacting with each other in a way that's supportive of the differences within the group. Great. And then sharing your experiences, that's something that was mentioned during the video, the importance of storytelling. When you have group projects being completed, you're still bringing your individual self to the group. So it's important that you do have an opportunity to share those experiences. One of the service learning standards for quality practice is reflection. Oftentimes, your experiences are shared during this reflection piece, where you sit down and think about what happened throughout the day, what happened during the day's events, what happened throughout the entire service learning project. Everyone is experiencing the same thing, but they may experience it in a different way. Great. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. And then so thinking about consensus building, what are some ways that you have come across consensus building? You know, how do you get the group to decide on an issue or decide on creating a service learning project or decide on what the group norms will be? So brainstorming and voting. Yep, it could be a majority vote. Absolutely. So talking about those discussions again, having that reflection piece. You know, addressing the issues as they occur. Great. Making sure everybody has input. Yeah, that's extremely important, and I think it's something that we often overlook in terms of thinking about people's personality styles and extroverts versus introverts, and really just giving everyone the opportunity to be heard, whether it's silencing somebody or calling upon someone who isn't necessarily the most vocal in the room. So really you as a facilitator, you as the educator, you as the youth leader, really encouraging everybody's voice to be heard. So you have this creation of a safe space because everyone was included in the decision-making of what that space would look like. And so the last point that was made about consensus building is research, combining topics together. So doing some detailing behind the issue at hand. You know, what are your options? Making sure that multiple options are on the table and it's not just one person's perspective or one person's suggestion. Great, thank you. And then so what are some things that you can do to foster openness within a safe space? What are some ways that educators or youth participants can prepare themselves to handle differences, to be willing to share? Yep, so icebreakers and team building exercises really allow for openness. You know, it's a way for a group to interact together over the same experience. You know, it's something that you have in common. Yep, building community. So perhaps you come up with a group name or perhaps you do some name game activities. Allowing the students to lead, absolutely. Very important during this process of openness. You know, by giving youth the leadership roles within the group, it really does show that you honor and you respect their opinions as well. You know, you see the value in what they have to say and you view them as experts too. It's not just an educator or the youth leader teaching the group. It's the group really learning through, it's the group really learning from each other. Yep. Yeah, so similar to what Tony just said, thinking about activities that really delve into tougher and tougher dialogues. So having maybe an initial icebreaker just to get the group open to discussing an issue that's more controversial. Confidentiality. You know, setting a group norm that what happens in the group stays within the group. You know, really making sure that the participants feel that what they're sharing is being shared only within the group, or if it's allowed to be shared outside, getting their permission beforehand. You know, really creating group cohesiveness makes a difference in terms of how peers can influence each other and how youth can really learn from the experiences that they have together to create those healthy decisions and to make those healthy decisions. Great. And then so the next resource that I have to share with you, it's actually for the educators and youth leaders. It's in the self-assessment. It really gives you an opportunity to to think about what you're bringing to the table. Are you personally really open to the idea of youth voice? Are you really expressing what it is that you hope to be practicing? And right now, Marcus is actually sharing the document with you, so you should receive it shortly. So this self-assessment, it's available on the LIFT website, which is lift.nylc.org. But again, Marcus is sharing it right now, so you'll have a copy that you can do at home as well. And it's, again, like I said, it's really just a way for the educator and for the youth leader to look at how they're viewing youth voice. And I say youth leader as well because sometimes when youth are put in a position of leadership to teach their other peers, they too have to be reminded about the value that the participants can bring to the group as well. And if you have not received this document yet, please notify us in the chat box, and so we'll make sure that you can get it. So the first question, just so you have some understanding of what it is, it says, as an adult leader, I engage young people in program decisions when I think this engagement will be a growth experience for them. So being strategic in what experiences you offer to your youth, really thinking about their needs and what they would like to accomplish from the program or in life, in their professional life as well, and really just connecting them with opportunities that they're interested in, and not just connecting them with opportunities that you alone are interested in. And then going down, some of the other questions is, adults and young people should make decisions together. How do you rate on that scale? Where would you see yourself lying? And really just taking the time to see and evaluate what it is that you're bringing to the table and how that may affect your role as an educator. So the next strategy and tool that we want to share with you is goal setting. Students who possess clear goals about the future and concrete plans for how they will achieve these goals are more likely to be successful in school. And this goal in particular relates to the idea of academic success. This was written by the Youth Advisory Council, who created the curriculum about the achievement gap. And they really saw this as being an important tool as ways that educators can encourage students to create those to make those healthy decisions because they are determining what it is that they want to accomplish. And so the next goal setting tool that we have to share with you, it's actually taken from the SMART curriculum, and it's called the Identifying Benchmarks. Well, actually, you can see the title. So it's Identifying Benchmarks Activity, and it's really this roadmap of success. It comes with the document that Marcus is sharing with you now actually has the step-by-step process of how to use this diagram. But it pretty much just gives you an opportunity to connect with the youth individually and really define ways of what they want to accomplish. And this one in particular is academically related, but you could easily change the boxes to include a month-to-month goal or a week-to-week goal or a semester goal. And so some examples of benchmarks to success that were generated by the youth is that they participated in preschool when they were 3 years old, for example. It really requires and asks youth to think about what they define as being successful. And then on the bottom part of the document, you have ways that students and families can be supportive of accomplishing this goal. You know, by clearly defining what it is that youth want to achieve and what it is that youth want to accomplish, you as an educator or youth as a youth leader can design your program to suit those needs. And I just want to pause to give anyone time to ask any questions specifically about this document. I know the text is a little small, so I just want to make sure that you all are having access to it and you can see it on your own computer screens. Are there any questions about the roadmap to success or about the previous file that we shared?
We're just resharing that first file for anyone who maybe wasn't able to get it. So hopefully it works this time.
Okay. Right. So if there are no questions, we will continue on. So just to recap some of the things that we had hoped to accomplish today, and I hope that this is what you were able to take from this webinar today, is really just thinking about ways to identify the risk and protective factors that youth experience today. You know, taking that opportunity to ask them, and really not just relying on the statistics published by the CDC or the Department of Ed. It's taking that opportunity to connect with your youth individually and learn about their experiences, learn about the things that they're facing today and the things that are important to them as well. And then we also talked about the strategies and tools to do so. In particular, thinking about ways that we can create a safe space to foster this dialogue. You know, having youth feel secure in knowing that what they're sharing is going to be respected and is going to be kept confidential. You know, that's an extremely important piece in having them feel comfortable to open up and share with you how they're feeling and issues that are affecting them in their academic lives, in their home life, in their school lives, in their friendships, etc. So that's the webinar for today. I hope you were able to grab at least one piece of information that you will find helpful in your work with youth and in your future events and service learning projects. Are there any questions for me?
While people are thinking of questions, I just wanted to make a note that if anyone wants to watch part of this webinar again or have access, you know, maybe you weren't able to download or you lose some of the files we shared today, they'll all be available within a topic in the Generator School Network. And just look to your inboxes for a follow-up email within the next week or so to tell you where to go for that.
Yep. Okay. So if there are not any questions, I just wanted to share that we do have the National Service Learning Conference is fast approaching. And please, if you have not seen this website, if you have not registered yet, definitely take a look at the website is servicelearningconference.org/2014, and you can definitely register there. There is an online registration, and we have confirmed a few plenary speakers at the moment. So a lot is happening. It's going to be exciting. Our Youth Advisory Council are presenting a few workshops, so definitely take advantage of the opportunity to connect with youth directly and learn about ways that you can be more supportive of the youth that you work with at home. Okay, so we have one question from Teresa Moreland. Yep, so I have seen that, Teresa, just to answer your question, I have seen that done both ways. I've seen it done as an individual project where they report it out within small groups, and then as an entire group, there's been like a group share either through like a gallery walk where you post each of the benchmarks throughout the classroom and have the students walk around and see the goals of the group. Yeah, so I have seen it done both ways where you can use it as an individual one-on-one tool with your students, but there is benefit in also sharing it out with the group. Yep, Khalud will definitely get that second file out to you again. And Teresa, I hope I answered your question. All right, if there are no more questions, I'm just going to leave my contact information on the screen. And again, if you had any difficulties opening a file or you need more clarification about a document or a statement that I made, please feel free to contact me either at my phone, at my office number, or at my email. Thank you so much for your participation today, everybody. It was a pleasure interacting with you, and I look forward to learning more about the great work that you're doing within your school communities and just being a better support to you in the future.